Hello everybody, it's Josie here. So my video today is focusing on short story or anthology collections of books. My history of reading kind of anthologies and short story collections has been a little bit rocky, to say the least. I used to buy them a lot and then read them and really not enjoy them, or maybe enjoy one story and nothing else. So I was kind of shying away from them for a long time. I know a lot of people really love anthologies, and it is a really great way to kind of get a taste of authors as well. So, if you're reading an anthology and you like one of the short stories, it might make you go and look up that author's work and see if they've got any, full-length novels or any other work out there. So I do absolutely think there's a huge value for them, but I always, and maybe I was just picking up the wrong anthologies, to be fair, I always really didn't enjoy them and ended up kind of DNFing pretty much half of the books because I just didn't enjoy what I was reading. I didn't find the stories compelling, and I always found that there wasn't enough time to get into the stories. But for whatever reason, I decided that I need to try again, and I started buying some anthologies and really enjoying them. And like I said, it might just be the ones that I'm picking now as opposed to what I used to pick, that I'm finding the stories more engaging, that I'm actually enjoying them and enjoying reading them. So I've got a few here that I don't think I've talked about yet. So these are some of my newer reads, and then I'll recommend a few others, and then maybe one or two that I have talked about before. So the first one I want to talk about this is the very last one I've read, so the newest read on here, and that is Salt Slow by Julie Armfield. First of all, gorgeous cover. This was in my video for beautiful covers. It's just lovely. Look at it. So Salt Slow is also, I should say that some anthologies are different writers, and then you do get short story collections that are all by the same author. So this one's all by the same author, so Julie wrote all of these stories as opposed to editing them and having other authors involved in it. And these stories they're a bit weird, they're a bit surreal, they kind of almost fall into that slightly magical realism thing. There are queer characters in here, not in all of the stories, but in some of them, and I've tabbed up. So what I generally do with short story collections is, because I do kind of firmly believe that, well, not firmly, you might enjoy every single story and love every single one, but I tend to find that I like some more than others, or some are more poignant, some I can relate to better, some I just enjoy more. So this one I really like. So in this particular collection, there's a story called The Collectibles, which is kind of like a weird modern day Frankenstein tale that's kind of gender flipped, which I really liked. And then this Cassandra After is a beautiful queer story of a female-female romance. So all in all, I thought these were great stories. Like I said, they were a bit weird. They're a bit sort of bit magical realism-y. You had some good representation in some of the stories, and I really liked it. I would probably give this, I'd say, a 3.5 out of 5, only because I do find it really difficult to rate anthologies at 4.5, 5 stars out of 5, because I just hardly ever come across those that I love that much, that I'm like, I love every single story. So yeah, maybe 3.5 stars for that one. Then the next one I've got, I actually found in a charity shop, and that is V.G. Lee's As You Step Outside. Again, V.G. Lee writes a lot of queer fiction, and they have put together this kind of anthology. I really love this cover. It's really quite cute. And these are, again, I believe they are all V.G. Lee stories. Yeah, they are all V.G. Lee story. They are all queer. They are kind of, how do I explain this? Sort of the middle-class British, slightly more middle-aged experience. And it's great. It's set in little British towns. Some of them are at the coast. Again, I've got notes like, there's ones that are about a breakdown of a relationship, and then about a mother accepting, the daughter's queer relationship. There's one here, Hotel de Luc, that's about a middle-aged lady pretty much left on the shelf. What was this one? Sorry, I'm just going through all my notes. Then there's actually some kind of more domestic-y ones in here, so about parents breaking up and how that affects children. These are really great. two women that go off to the cinema. I mean, you kind of get, I would say, that real middle class, slightly middle-aged, many like lesbian experience. This one's, like I said, a lesbian night out on this one. So this one is about control, the very first one, and who controls you and how people control you. So I just think these are great. I really enjoyed them. I didn't think I was going to enjoy them as much as I did. And again, I'd say a solid 3.5, maybe even 4 stars on these ones. Really enjoyed them. Then the next one I've got here, and I think I went through hell and high water to get this, and you can see this copy is so beaten up. It's this is actually edited by Michelle T, who's one of my favorite authors. I read a lot of her books, and this is Baby Remember My Name, and there's various authors in here. So Michelle is the editor of this anthology, and these again are all, it says, an anthology of new queer girl writing. These are all queer, these are all female-centric, female-female relationships. I love this anthology, so this is my favourite out of all of the ones. Wait, there's another one that's also my favourite, so this is one of my 2 favourites. Out of all the anthologies I've read, this is amazing. I think most of the stories I gave either 4.5 or 5 stars in here. So one that I've got a note here saying body issues, loving yourself, you know, desexualizing breasts. This one, Oh Lonely Adventures, got great bi rep, and you know, it's bi visibility. Some of these, like I put beautiful, full of descriptive writing. So these ones, oh, this is about trans Latinx, set in the trans Latinx community, and that struggle for identity. This one is brilliant. This is one I gave 5 stars to. I mean, there are really, and what's interesting is you get different formats as well. So that's like written like a kind of an entry. There's one, if I can find it, that is actually a cartoon. So you've got like a cartoon in there. I adored this anthology. You know, if you're queer, if you want female content, this is kind of, I think early 2000s, late 90s or early 2000s writing. It's just fantastic. Yeah, 2007, sorry, so it's mid 2000s. It is fantastic. I love it. I kind of love everything Michelle T does, but this anthology really stood out for me, and I kind of could connect with these stories the most. Then the next one I've read is this one over here. My Baby Shot Me Down, and this is Poaching Prose by women writers. Again, I picked this up in a charity shop because how cool is that cover? And, you know, poetry and prose by women writers. I had to get that. Not all of this is queer. I actually found, so this one, Buried, is a really nice lesbian love story. So if you're looking for that content, like I said, not all of the content is queer in here. There are a few. I actually enjoyed the poetry more than the stories in this on balance. Patriarchy is another one that's really good. That's kind of feminist riot girl. But Little Lost Reds, that's one of the poems. That's really beautiful. I actually really enjoyed the poetry. And that's a beautiful queer poem. So that's typing heartbreak into Google. This was with the stories. It was a tiny bit hit and miss for me. There were a couple that I really liked. But there's probably more of the poetry that I liked. So again, I would say 3 stars, 3.5 stars. Not all the stories were great, but some of the poetry I really enjoyed. So, and this makes it a bit different because you've got that poetry and that story element, which is really quite cool. And then the next one, so this is on par with my favorite, is Witches, Princesses, and Women at Arms. And this again is an anthology of different authors. And this is all erotic lesbian fairy tales. Need I say more? So basically, you're taking fairy tales, you're making them gay, you know, you're making them erotic. There's lots of wonderful bits and pieces going on. So there was one here, Toads, Diamonds, and the Occasional Pearl, and I said this was a bit like The Princess and the Toad, sort of curses and things like that. Then you kind of have these... you've got like princesses in love with knights who are girls. There's a great one on self-pleasure. This is just, I mean, yeah, this one is cool. The Miller's Daughter is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling, but it's queer, but it's lesbian. It's great. These are just fantastic. This is a 5-star read for me. As is Really Baby. Remember My Name. I just love these. They are fun. They are wonderful. And yeah, they're really good. And then special mention to ones that I may have already mentioned, but I've read in the past is, I'm just trying to find it. So is this one over here, is Proud, and this is edited by Juno Dawson. And again, this is stories, poetry, art, This is glorious. I did a whole video on this. Read it. It's fantastic if you're queer. It's a wonderful anthology to have. And then this one, Kissing the Witch by Emma Donoghue. Again, these are fairy tales and they're given a twist, and quite often it's a feminist twist because they're told from the perspective of the female characters, and there's a little bit of a queer content in these as well. And Emma Donoghue is amazing, and this is probably one of my favorite books of theirs, and it's gorgeous. I listened to this on audio. I've got the book. I love both. This is really, really great. And then a final mention goes to, and I haven't read this yet, so that's why I can't really review it. And when I do read it, I should probably do this, this is lesbian short stories. It's the Penguin book of lesbian short stories, and the cover's a bit rude. That's why I'm doing that. But it is a great big book. I've only read like probably one or two of these, but again, you've got kind of got some cartoonish style content in there and different stories. So I'm really looking forward to it. Huge cast of writers, and I think this will be good. Again, I found it in a charity shop. Very excited about that. Yeah, looking forward to reading that. So that's my talk on some of my favourite anthology short story collections. Let me know if you've read any, let me know if you recommend any, and let me know what you think of short stories, whether you like them or not. And yeah, I will speak to you all again very soon.